Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott! I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Animation That Cooks, because comics. We're here. We did it. We kind of did it. Welcome to the crossover that everybody wants, that nobody asked for. It's This Comic Cooks, Animation Fascination, and Beer with Geeks together again to talk about my adventures with Superman. We've got your Superman, we've got your Lois, we've got your Jimmy, we've got the trifecta all here together right now. And so I guess by default, I am Superman because I'm wearing a Superman shirt. So truthfully, I think I'm Jimmy. If I really had to put myself out there. Nice. Anyway, we are here. Marc and Vactor, thank you so much for coming together with me to talk my adventures with Superman on all three of our shows. Yet again, Here we are. Marc, how are you today?
Good. So I figure this is a good spot for us. So you're the Beer with Geeks faction. And then Vactor is the This Comic Cooks faction.
It's very nice. I like the difference. Mine is like a little bit like the butler has just entered the room. And Vactor's like the like, I don't know, like Autobot. Like
canon
entered the room.
Like, a canon event just happened.
Yeah.
And then I'm of course the Animation Fascination faction. Say that 5 times fast.
I love it. It's like classic Hollywood, like the I love it. It's great. Boys, we're all here to talk about my adventures with Superman. Now on Beer with Geeks, we always start with a beverage. Do either of you have a beverage today? I can't decide.
Ghost Sour Patch Kids
Blue Raspberry. What?
Yes.
Was that a beer?
No, it's an energy drink.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm tired.
That makes much more sense for everything that is happening.
I'll do some ASMR for all you ASMR folks.
Good. It's a good one. Now, that's a huge energy drink. So are you planning to go to bed somewhere around 3 a.m.? Did no one tell me this is a very long episode?
Yes. I don't. We'll see.
We'll see. Have you had this before? Good. All right. Back to you. Drink
it. It tastes like liquid Sour Patch Kids, basically.
Oh wow! I want some. I'm drinking NyQuil and DayQuil nonstop because I've had a cold over the weekend, so I'm just recovering. That's been my beverage of choice.
NyQuil and DayQuil are good. I think that exact same cold last weekend or the weekend before, whatever.
Oh, wow.
Right? It just it comes out of nowhere, right? And all of a sudden you're like, wow, why do I feel terrible? And then it'll be gone just before you know it. Yeah.
Because you guys went to the North Pole to check out the fortress.
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. The cold gives you cold. I didn't know if anybody did that. Yeah. I am drinking an Ebbs Kolsch No. 2. I had never had it before. Just this kindest dog doing laundry. I appreciate. Nice. It flows. It ebbs. Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
There's a nice flow to this Ebbs. I like it.
That should be their slogan, really. It's like
it should be. Is it? It's.
I mean, it feels like it's right there.
It's not. It's really unfortunate.
All right, so we need to find their contact information
which I do
and email their marketing department and be like, come on.
I don't want a job because this is not what I do for a living, but you should do this.
Yeah.
Just my suggestion as a one-time beer drinker.
There you go.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we're here to talk My Adventures with Superman. The season 2, the first 2 episodes have premiered on Adult Swim and the Max, formerly known as HBO Max. Yeah. Let's recap season 1 for a bit more, not in what happened, but our reactions to it. Vactor, how did you like season 1?
Season 1 blew me away because it was my chocolate and my peanut butter getting mixed together. Superman and anime mashed up, smushed up together. Mm-hmm. And I was astounded. I was loving it. That whole first season was fantastic, from the voice acting to the animation to even a fresh take on Superman, which is something that all of us here, we know Superman like the back of our hand. Where did that come from?
Yeah, hey,
but
that's new.
This is something that is a new version of Superman that we can give to a younger audience, a more modern audience. Hey, this is Superman today in 2024. So that first season, I loved.
Good. Mark.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. I like the fresh take on everything. It's like a fresh take that feels familiar at the same time, where it's not like being fresh, not in that sense, but like not being fresh just to, like not just to be different, but it's like it has a good take on like the different choices that it's making with everything in there, and it's, well, like I said, like feeling familiar, and that's continuing here into like this beginning of season 2. And I've just really liked the comedy to it, as well as like it feels very genuine and kind of heartfelt in there as well. So it's got a good mixture of like emotion and comedy and action and everything, and just which is continuing into season 2.
I agree with both of your statements, though. Anime is not generally my thing, so for me it feels I guess even fresher in some way, because it's an animation style that I am not normally attuned into, and so I kind of like want to, I don't know, it makes me want to be more into anime. So I think it's like doing a twofold thing, where it's like it's always always reminding me that I love Superman, because I do, you know what I mean? But then as well, if you like this, you probably would like other anime, so you should like do that too. And so
have you explored any Miyazaki films?
I have, actually. My wife and I are doing chronological our way up. I've seen a few already, and so but we went backwards and started with the one with the giant bugs.
Grave of the Fireflies?
Nope, not that one. Not Kiki's Delivery Service. Before that, it had Patrick Stewart as one of the voices, one of the dub voices. Came out in the 80s.
No,
Poisonous World. It was good. I don't know. It's
Castle in the Sky?
Nope.
Totoro?
Nope.
And it wasn't Narcissa? I don't know. I'm probably not even pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
I think that's the one. Valley of the Wind?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Narcissa. Yeah. I think, it's not a Anyway, it was pretty good. It wasn't. I didn't love it. It was good. So, but it was like a getting your feet wet kind of movie. We haven't made it to, Princess Mononoke yet. That's kind of how I felt. Like, the Threshold movie. But anyway, My Adventures with Superman. We had 2 episodes. Surprisingly, like heartfelt. Like kind of right off the bat. There's a lot of Jor-El content that I was really here for. How much do you want to spoil this versus not spoil this?
Well, here, I guess we can give like a countdown. Be like, we will spoil stuff from here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I didn't do the count on my hand when I said that. I can't pat my head and rub my belly at the same time.
Okay, but we got a spoiler thing going on the screen, which is awesome. So
there we go.
So like Jor-El kind of like fades into existence, right? Or like fades from existence in these episodes. And so you're like, oh, by the way, you've like lost people, and I'm gonna lose them again, and lose them again, and lose them again. And I like this tragedy part of Superman that we don't normally always get, because a lot of some versions, especially animated versions, it's like Mon and Pa Kent are still alive, and he can talk to Jor-El anytime he wants, which is really. In this one, he's like, "No, you're still on your own. All right, see ya, bye." And like that's fresh. Like we've not really seen that before. Vactor, what do you think?
Yeah, what's crazy about that was this kind of aired around the same time as the X-Men 97 finale, and there's a scene in that where Cyclops and Jean are talking to their son, and they're about to fade away. They're doing a time travel thing versus Jor-El being an artificial intelligence, but it gave me that same feeling of, I'm a dad. We're all dads here. And what do you say to your son? What do you say to your daughter if this is the last time you're ever going to see them? Like that hit me pretty hard. And the whole first season, Jor-El kind of gave us that Smallville feeling of he's an antagonist. He's somebody that he's like the enemy, mainly just because we couldn't understand what he was saying because the language wasn't being translated. Now in this season, it's like, oh, he's a nice guy, and now he's our friend. Okay, as soon as he's your friend, now we're going to take him away. So they did just a great job of pulling on my heartstrings and showing that emotion of the moment of a father and a son, and that I think was a win for this series. Just the ending of the show.
I agree. I have a question that we might have talked about last season, but I can't remember that. Jor-El's crest is more like the kingdom now I guess Superman, James Gunn's Superman, as like just like the big bold diagonal line, whereas Clark's crest is quite different. Like, is there have they told us that there's a reason why there are a different one, even though they're the same family?
I haven't seen anything. If they have, I'm watching the episode on another screen here, and I'm not sure why they. Maybe it's just something that they're going to explain later on as he finds out more about his heritage.
I'm sure. I assume, but I think that that's not like by accident, right? It's not like someone got lazy. Just give them a line. We don't have enough money to make it fancy.
We'll have to keep an eye on what Kara's looks like too.
That's true. We've not really seen Kara in her full glory, right? We've seen
that posters from behind.
Yeah, which is what I like about this. This is that Kara is also a baby. When they show her right in the flashback, they're like, "Oh, hey, it's her cousin Kara." It is Kara. We questioned that off air whether it was going to be Kara or Kare or however they were going to go for. So we're sticking with the TV Supergirl Kara, which I like very much. I like the continuity of that for me personally, just so I like when I talk Superman on a podcast, I could still say Kara. It took a long time to get there.
For more Frank and Tim talking about Kara, you can check out past episodes of Supergirl TV Talk.
Yeah, very past at this point. Yeah, several years past. But we talked about every episode of that show with the directors, with the cast. What a great time that was.
Yeah.
But she's a baby. How do we feel about Kara being a baby instead of, a tween? Mark, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm okay with that because I'm just, at least from what you can tell from the poster there is that it seems like there's still going to be some kind of thing where she's still like arrived later, and so she's still younger like now. But I guess the main difference there will be like she has just as much prior Kryptonian knowledge as Clark/Kel does here, so it's not like she can really teach him more stuff about it than.
Right. If anything, he's going to be teaching her about Earth culture and in some ways Kryptonian culture, unless she's in the pod that's just like it's however
just
many
like
years,
giving
just
her
like
like
constant information absorption. But either way, you're right. It's not a lived experience for her. So like Kara's tragedy is that she remembers Krypton. She remembers she had friends and family and lived a life that is no longer there. And Clark's like, well, it was there. I guess I'm sad about it. Like, a metaphysical kind of way,
Right, yeah.
So, Vactor, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see this interpretation, because just like with Clark, I think it's not going to be the exact same that we know, the one that we've grown up with, in our entire lives, and we've seen throughout various different media. And I like just all the different takes that they've done so far, from Jimmy Olsen to Lois Lane to Clark himself, and the way that, whatever they choose to do with Supergirl, I already have confidence that it's going to be an interesting take. Whether it's a good take or the best take is yet to be seen, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
I have a question for Mark, and I want to see if you picked up on this. Did you notice that Jimmy sounded a lot like Vactor in these 2 episodes?
What?
Yeah, there was like that right there. That what right there?
Oh yeah,
I heard it almost exactly from Jimmy.
I was gonna say, speaking of Jimmy, really quick, I like this little on-screen thing they're doing, which I'm assuming at the end of this season is gonna to be $0, where we keep seeing Jimmy's net worth slowly go down each episode. At least
I thought it was going to be 0 by the end of this episode. The first episode, I thought it was going to be broke.
Yeah,
me too. But, though I guess I like the long game they're playing with it.
Yeah.
I prefer that instead.
Yeah,
or maybe we think that's where they're going, and then by the end it skyrockets back up at the.
I mean, he is a billionaire in the comics, so he just does his thing. I don't know. I like also this camaraderie, this weird camaraderie that he has with Perry in these seasons, where the interns aren't listening to me.
Pair.
How does it feel?
Yeah.
I like that too. I also like that he's just not the third wheel to Lois and Clark, who really are a duo. It's rarely the 3 of them. Even in the comics, it's kind of Lois and Clark or Lois and Jimmy. It's rarely all 3. So I like that he's kind of establishing something for himself, even if he doesn't really understand that quite yet. And the team that he has is great. It's the Newsboy Legion and Steve Lombard.
Yeah, and the Flamebird online presence. Like I said, this is all just different takes on it that we haven't quite seen before, but modernizing it, making it relevant for today's audience, and all the choices that they made in the first season I like. So I'm here for the second season, whatever they do.
I agree. There was a comment about if Conduit was in one of these episodes, and it was not Conduit. I thought it was too. It was Dr. Phosphorus. But but it's the same coloring on the arms, and so I was like, oh, maybe it's Conduit. I love Conduit, but it ended up being Dr. Phosphorus, which I love too. So I was happy with that. No, or was it Atomic Skull?
I don't know if they
Atomic Skull, because
I thought it was Dr. Phosphorus too, but I don't think they mentioned sometimes they'll put it in the captions, but they won't say it out loud.
Oh yeah,
but I didn't notice.
They said his street name. Damage was also in one of these episodes, but they never called him Damage. They called him something else. Whatever his alter ego or alias is, or his regular name, Bob. Right.
I'm gonna have to rewatch.
Atomic Skull is a Superman villain, so I'm gonna go with it being Atomic Skull and not Dr. Phosphorus. But they're all vaguely in the same. I'm a skull and I'm bright green,
right?
And I can melt things. So because my mind immediately went to Blight, even though I know that's not gonna happen. That's Batman Beyond. This is the future. It's a totally different thing. But in my mind, that's Blight is the first one that comes to my mind, because it's a great name with a great look. So,
and it's all new looks too, because even when I see Livewire, I'm still so used to the Superman the Animated Series Livewire.
Mm-hmm.
It still doesn't quite click with me until I see Electricity, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's Livewire. So I'm still getting used to some of these new interpretations.
Yeah, even Slade as Deathstroke in that with the kind of nanotech mask too, a little bit there too.
And being,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and being Chris Parnell's voice, I can't.
Yeah, I just
hear
him.
I was
like, why is Jerry over here trying to take out Superman.
I didn't know it was him, and so I was fine with it. And now I know that it's him. I can't undo. So I was doing fine. It was great. Interesting that his Deathstroke's mask is so particular in that it's half and half, and one of the one side is blocked up or whatever. He doesn't have an eye. Interesting that even though he's got his eye patch when he's slayed, when he puts on his Deathstroke mask, it's just a regular orange one. Like nothing's been marked to it. I was surprised that they just kind of continued with that general look. I wonder if it's going to eventually come to like, I don't need checkmate. I'm going to make it on my own kind of thing and do one of those. But I don't know.
And I don't know if they just want this version to stand out so that you're like, oh, okay, I know that's the My Adventures with Superman version of it. Because even like Jor-El with the eye patch was kind of weird to me. And it's the S crest shape of eye patch. But even that is kind of like it's a weird take because they don't really explain like what his injury was. But again, I'm here for it because it's something new. It's something fresh.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Jor-El's eye patch, Kryptonians being conquerors, like we've seen it kind of before. It's gone in that direction, but I don't think in animation we've ever seen the Kryptonians be conquerors before. Mark, how did you feel about that?
I think it's kind of interesting, like what they're doing with it too, because at least in the first season, we thought maybe it could have been like possibly just like a misunderstanding. Because of since we couldn't understand what he was saying in there, it almost feels like, complete with the eye patch, very like Odin esque, where it's like like Kryptonians are like, oh, we got to take out all these planets, or I guess even to like do it with like Invincible a little bit with like all the Viltrumites, taking out like lower planets. So it's kind of interesting, like that was like the reason that Krypton went out, rather than the like basically the climate issues that it would have had like in past iterations of it. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Vactor.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something that, again, being something that isn't like the 80 years of canon, the idea that we have in our minds that's so burned into it. I like not knowing which way to go. Like this the thing with the Jor-El, like I said at the beginning, where we didn't know if he was good or not. And we did get that on Smallville a little bit, but it still makes me guess. And that's something that, as a longtime fan, I like being on my toes. I like not knowing, I know every beat that's going to happen. I know everything already because of the comics or because of the previous animated series. So I like all of the freshness of this and something that we hadn't seen before. All of that is great.
Do you think we're going to move in a Mr. Oz kind of direction? The Jor-El's actually alive and he's not great, or are they going to steer clear of that terrible decision? Mark or Vactor, either of you. Nobody knows. Nobody's got an answer. The question is too good.
I don't. At least like from the vibe that at least that we got from him so far, at least within this episode, it feels like he's more like on the good nature. Just kind of like what he like says to Clark too. Like he's kind of jokey with him a little bit. Almost, I don't know if that's more like the AI kind of acclimating to, like speaking with Clark and like knowing Clark's kind of personality there. I know part of that scene kind of hit me a little bit hard with like the way like his dad is saying goodbye to him there too. And he's like, I'm sorry that we didn't have enough time to spend together, and I'm sorry I'm having to say goodbye again. I was like, man, like this frequency illusion thing where over this past year or so where I'm like noticing like all the stuff with like dads like and stuff, and so that part of the episode like hit me especially hard. But I think at least in here from that, at least from the vibe I'm getting from him, it seems like it's closer to the Marlon Brando-esque Jor-El than.
He's got the Odin look, but I'm the wise counselor more than the, because he says he's not like the head scientist or whatever, some big term. He said something else. I can't remember what it is, but it sounded more like he led Krypton more than just was a part of, fighting with the council or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's hop over to Clark and Lois. We haven't really talked about them yet. I love the Valentine's Day. You got to go big. Truly, I thought that all of their advice was terrible. That's kind of where I thought they were going. Like, no, you got to go big. And I think because Lois isn't the kind of go big person. Like she would have been happy with ramen on the roof kind of thing.
Right.
And so the fact that he kind of accidentally went big kind of works in his favor, but also I felt is not, again, it didn't hit for me oh yeah, no, that's what Lois would have liked. What do you guys think? Vactor?
Yeah, I like that the way that they're portraying Lois in this, it has all the classic elements of Lois being headstrong, she can take care of herself, but then also that aspect of damsel in distress. Superman still needs, she still needs Superman, still needs Clark. And then their relationship on the other side of it, where she's in love with Clark. Was attracted to Superman, but then I think she fell in love with Clark. That aspect of their relationship I've always enjoyed from the Dean Cain Superman show, and anytime we've gotten that version of it, and I like this interpretation of the triangle, and then also just the way the actress portrays her, it just feels good to me. It feels like a solid Lois. It doesn't feel like she's trying to be something else or go too far away from the classic Lois mold, but she's youthful, she's energetic. Like I said, it feels like 2024's version of Lois. And I'm still not 100% on if she's supposed to be Asian or not, because the actor is Asian.
I think she's supposed to be, because Sam Lane also looks Asian.
Yeah, he has an Asian look to him too. So that also I like. I am 25% Japanese, so I like anytime I see some Asian representation on screen. So I'm liking this version of Lois, this choice that they've made for this show.
Yeah, me too. Very much. Speaking of Lois, though, and her family, it looks like we're going for a lot of this whole season. It seems to be going for what is family, what the nature that you like, the choices that you make, and the conflicts that arise, within that, because there's a whole focus on Sam Lane in the second episode, which is startlingly wild when you think about it. They're here's this animated Superman show, and here's Sam Lane, the star of episode 2. I loved it. It was I enjoyed that quite a bit. Because he's not great, but he recognizes the right. Yeah, he's not great, but I do like the. There's a lot of political. The show is asking a weirdly lot of political questions, is the old brand of, I'd say, American patriotism, does it still matter? Or was it good in the first place? Or is it only good in light of this version of Waller's patriotism, all mixed in with Superman's truth, justice, and the American way? It's just really good. I like it. I hope that it wasn't just me reading into things, and I hope that this is kind of it explores that a little further. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Especially the thing in there too, where Clark says to to Lois, where he's like, his biggest problem with her dad was that the way that like he talks down to her and like demeans Lois, and that he doesn't think that she should be treated like that. So it's not like he has a problem with like Sam the person, but more the way that he's treating the woman that he loves. Mm-hmm. And so that's like his big issue with him. So I like how they're playing that thing up with them, and then the fact that, you know, that Sam doesn't know that Superman is Clark. So he's like, oh, where's Clark? And all this thing, trying to not here to help you out. And then so I am enjoying like how they're doing that with it too. And really quick to go back with the Valentine's Day thing too, I liked that Clark, they had like that little nod to Clark had a poem with the "Can you read my mind?" I was like, I see what you guys did there. That's nice.
No.
And also Trent Krim showed up again in that last
he
episode
did.
too. I was like, yeah, Trent Krim.
Working for the Daily Planet. Good for you, Trent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim, I also looked up. You were correct. It is Atomic Skull.
Yes. Pulled that out of nowhere. So, yes. Very good. Yeah, but you're right though. Sometimes I mean, like the damage one was like, wait, who's damaged? Remember that? You know what I mean? Like one of those. So, I have a friend that is watching the show, and he this is a comment that I'd like you guys to respond to. The show is taking some villains that are traditionally not Superman villains and putting them in a Superman show. Amanda Waller, Deathstroke. How do you guys feel about these characters being utilized in a strictly Superman show? Like, why not use characters that are more like from Superman mythos instead of, you know, from the larger DCU? Personally, I like that they're from the larger DCU. I like that the show's kind of opening up and that there are characters that like anybody is kind of allowed to interact with. It doesn't matter if they originally are a Teen Titans villain or a Suicide Squad character or whatever, that like they're bigger than that. Even like, so like all the characters by the very nature of them being there are bigger than just like one character's piece. But there's an argument to be made in the other direction. Vactor, what do you think?
Well, Amanda Waller, it seems like either DC or Warner Brothers is really trying to push her as the big villain for everything. She's in the Suicide Squad video game. She's in there's right now the current storyline that's going on, Peacemaker too. The current storyline that's going on in the DC Comics is her, like, she's in the background manipulating everything, and we're going to see coming up, she's going to be revealed. That's going to be like the big summer crossover. But I'm just I'm used to seeing her now in so many properties. I'm like, oh yeah, of course she's in this. I'm seeing her everywhere. So that part didn't faze me too much, just because I'm seeing her in so many things. But yeah, I like using other villains from the DC universe, because it does tend to get old if you're seeing the same ones over and over and over again. And there's so many in the DC, canon that we can pull from. Might as well utilize all of the tools that you have in your toolbox. Although I got to say, the ending of the episode was like jaw-dropping moment, and it was the Superman villain, like the creme de la creme of Superman villains.
He is the villain of the story.
Yes. First of all, I was not expecting that, and they had been building him up from the first season.
Wait, you weren't expecting that?
I had no idea.
Like, what? The boy genius that shows up wearing purple and green, and
his name was Alexander.
He had hair.
Yeah, his name was Alexander.
Yeah. His last name could have been Hamilton. We don't know.
I'm looking for a Baldy. I'm looking for somebody to come in and
Frank couldn't be here. All right.
I mean, I'm here.
I was looking for somebody to telegraph it. But that part at the very end, when he first of all, he was about to say Alex. He was about to say Alexander, and then he
Right.
says Lex Luthor. I was like, yeah, this is great.
He's reinventing. I like the on the spot reinvention of himself. Like Alexander wasn't working for him, and so
yeah.
So yeah, like he feel. I don't know how. Yeah, there he is. There he is. So hopefully not Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor. Doesn't seem that way. He seems much calmer, more methodical, more thoughtful, I guess, in some ways. Whereas I don't think Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor knew what he was doing half the time. He pretended that he did, but he didn't.
Yeah. This
faking
is
it until he made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the one I want.
Yeah. How do you feel about him being a contemporary, age contemporary? Some people like when Lex is a little bit older. He's already established. Even in Smallville, he's 5-6 years older than Clark. So,
right.
Yeah,
that's what I personally prefer. That going against everything I was saying about changing it up and modernizing it, I kind of like the classic. All right, Lex Luthor seems like he's an older guy. He seems like somebody that Clark or Superman is kind of like, not. He could have been his mentor, like he could have been a student of his, but he's because of the circumstances, he just didn't turn out that way. When they flipped it and when they put him as kind of contemporary, it feels, even with Jesse Eisenberg, like I just felt like he was too young to be Lex Luthor in that movie. So I kind of, I don't know, just my own personal bias. I like seeing an older Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I prefer just when he's just like a tad, even anywhere between 6 and 10 years older is okay. But there can be a pretty significant difference in establishing yourself. Clark shows up to, fresh out of college or whatever. He's 21, 22 years old. And Lex is 32, right?
Right.
Think about your own personal lives, how far you've gone in your life in that 10-year, mark. It's so that is kind of what I prefer. But again, new take, fresh ideas. You've never seen Lex Luthor not really have a company, but go he's pure scientist, evil scientist Lex Luthor instead of 80s businessman Lex Luthor. So I'm that's new, yes. Especially not in animation necessarily, because that's what he was in Super Friends. But I fine, give me something different. He'll lose his hair. Does Lex Luthor need to be bald? This is a hard and point fast question. Mark, I'm not pointing you out for this. Mark, do you feel that he
just because Frank's not here, I'm the default bald guy?
Just as a personal point of representation.
I mean, I don't care one way or the other. Yeah,
But if Superman was bald, we feel something about that, right? Do some characters need hair and others do not?
I mean, if he's bald, then doesn't it just kind of be like One Punch Man, right, Vactor?
Ooh.
If he's bald, there you go. I don't know. I don't really have a preference for Lex being bald or having hair, because usually when he is bald, sometimes he'll wear a wig anyway. So it seems like Lex prefers to have hair.
I always go back to Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, where John Shea was cast as Lex Luthor, and they said he's perfect. He's not bald, but I remember one of the producers was like, Lex Luthor's a genius. If anybody's going to figure out how to grow his hair back, it's Lex Luthor, because that's the exact kind of vanity project that Lex Luthor would have. And 100%. I like that take, because John Shea was an excellent Lex Luthor, and it didn't matter a lick to me that he had hair.
Oh yeah, because doesn't Giancarlo Esposito's Lex in Harley Quinn, doesn't he basically do that with like this is
he does, but
takes Superman's he uses it basically to grow his
that's right, I forgot about that. I don't know if I should count those versions of those characters as real versions. Does the blender work? I need it to work.
That is the best version of Bane.
It's it's my favorite version of Bane for sure. But I wouldn't count on that Bane winning against Batman in any stretch of
my favorite version of Clayface.
Absolutely,
yes.
Clayface. nice.
Yes.
We have this. I read this book to my daughter. It's the Tiny Titans books. Like the Art Balthazar and all that. There's a book called Arkham Maniacs. Like Animaniacs, and it's basically that style, but if instead of the Animaniacs, it's the residents of Arkham, and they live in like the Arkham apartments and whatever else. But I read it out loud to my daughter. It's a graphic novel, but so I have to do all the voices, whatever else. And when you get to Clayface, I'm like, that's the Clayface that I'm doing. Like, I don't know, like that's the best one, and it's going to fit the tone of this book. But it's amazing.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk is definitely a great Clayface.
He is.
And Joker.
He is also that.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on My Adventures with Superman, these first 2 episodes?
I will say that the only nitpick I had with it is that I kind of don't like the thing that they're doing with the withholding information kind of stuff between
the classic.
Lois and Clark.
Communicate my entire thought to you, so it's going to be a point of turmoil this entire season.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like we've moved beyond that in TV and stuff. So I was like, oh, come on. It's like, don't do that. Just tell each other the thing and get it over with. But I know there needs to be drama, but I wish it wasn't
the next episode. Then I'll be okay with it. But I generally agree with you, because I was like, nope, just take a second and just say the rest of it. But they were also not in the place to say the whole thing, so they're also kids. Which is also, I think, an important, not kids, but they're not even 23 or whatever. And so I just I have to my frame of mind is they're just not there yet. They don't have the maturity of us 30 plus.
Well, they did get the secret identity out of the way in the first season. That was one of the big things that they just.
Yeah, they're at least not 9 seasons in waiting to tell each other that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I really am loving season 2 so far, and I'm liking the continued progression of what they started and brought through season 1.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Vactor, final thoughts.
It was great to get 2 episodes because that first episode, I would have wanted more. I would have wanted another one right away. But now we can get back to the water cooler talk, doing the episode by episode, week to week. So it was a good first premiere. Great start, and it made me realize man, I've been missing this show. I haven't had it for a while, and now that it's back, it's this feels good again to have this weekly Superman back on my screen again.
Mm-hmm. I agree. One final part that I want to mention is that I like Amanda Waller talking to herself about how amazing she is.
Positive affirmations. Yeah,
I just love that. She's like, you can go to the world. You can do this, Amanda.
That was great.
Cooks pancakes. I also love that she just lives there. She doesn't have a home. She just lives in the secret base. I'm digging this Amanda Waller.
Well, not anymore, probably.
No, probably not. But she probably has a few secret bases around. But anyway, gentlemen, thanks for being on this comic beer fascinates the animation geeks or something.
Yes.
And so with cooks. Are there too many cooks in this kitchen? Who's to say? Marc, where can the people find you?
People can find me at animationfascination.net for the animation fascination stuff. Star Wars stuff, holdopod.com. And then we talked about Trent Krim. If you want more Ted Lasso stuff, you can go to richmondwaypod.com for that stuff.
Excellent. Vactor, where can the people find you?
I do a Star Wars show called Trust in the Force, and I do a comic book show called This Comic Cooks, which is maybe where you're watching this episode right now.
Very good. And you can find me over at beerwithgeeks.com and all the places that podcasts can be found. Beer with Geeks. You can check out all other Thought Bubble Audio shows at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. Gentlemen, it was an absolute joy to talk to you about Superman, as always. So, until next time, cheers.